oh shit, it was recording this whole time. So I'm basically making this video just to kind of, just to vent really, if anything, just to kind of put things into words because I'm in a situation where I'm in conflict with myself. I'm in dissonance. And what is it? I have a crush. You know what? Let me take that back. I don't have a crush on him. However, my curiosity as of recent has now been piqued once again on an unavailable coworker who is married to a chick but who gives me the most bi-curious or queer vibes ever. Well, not ever, right? But he definitely makes me suspicious, and I mean, I certainly am not the only one, and there are certain reasons as to why I believe this, right? Because I wouldn't be making this video, or I wouldn't be disclosing that if that wasn't true. How did I form this crush on this coworker, right? How did I start getting fixated on him? Because really this whole conflict, this whole dissonance comes from my heart and mind, if you will, to either keep or remove this individual from my life as most I can because, well, he's a coworker, so that means I have to see him every day. Well, at least every working day. And that's most of my waking, or that's a good chunk of my waking hours. My body is physically near to him, so naturally my mind is going to respond as well. And like I said, a lot of dissonance. Now let me just give you a brief background. May of 2019 is when well, what should we call him? Henry. We'll call him Henry. So Henry started working where I work 2 years ago, and I really didn't take notice of him. My mind was basically somewhere else. But then all of a sudden October of 2019 rolled by, and that's when all of a sudden things kind of took a change. I started noticing him more. I started to notice how he looked and how cute he looked in that pink uniform that we'd sometimes wear. I thought he looked particularly nice, and that kind of tickled my fancy, if you will, seeing him in that uniform. And on that day, I can't remember when in October, that basically marked like the first day of my crush on him. Oddly enough, 3 months after the fact, after he started working. I know some people develop crushes at first sight, you know, they see them and they're infatuated right away, but me personally, this took a little bit more time. So before anything, you're probably wondering, so what makes him gay, or what makes him bi-curious or queer? It's all in his Instagram, god damn it, all in his Instagram. So eventually I found his account, and then there on your bio you can, you know, add whatever, and you can also add links to things. His link happened to be to his personal blog on Tumblr. It's called... That should already kind of, you know, start giving you an idea, right? Like the name of that title. And I see it, I open the blog, and it says a bunch of reposted pictures. Some are sexual. In fact, a lot of them are sexual. I see a lot of women on there, a lot of things airing on heterosexuality in his case. But then I saw a couple pictures too that suggested that he was also into men. Certain pictures here and there that just kind of gave me this idea like, well then, he must be interested or curious about wanting to play with men. And that basically got me rolling. And I started rolling hard on that kind of potential idea that he could possibly really be into it. I mean, his Instagram says so. Ever since then, I started just noticing him differently, and I started developing feelings of attraction for him. All the classic symptoms of a crush I started to develop, which means I started putting more social value in him than he was actually putting out. He would just do things that were basically normal, you know, to anyone else. But for me, I thought he was doing it, you know, exclusively for me, or, you know, I made it all about kind of like him to me. And I wanted to also see if he was, you know, ever at all curious in trying out men. So during those initial months of developing that crush, I had a lot of uncertainty. I had a lot of questions to ask him. I was so focused on details online that could not really actually be applicable in his real life. See, another thing is that, like, he's married. He's with the chick that he's known since high school. They've known each other for a long time. They have a kid together. He doesn't seem to want to leave her, but yet his mind is also in other places. Just literally a couple months after they got married, he kind of emotionally cheated on her. And now I don't mean to talk shit just like that, but I mean, I'm just saying the truth and my own anecdote that I'm explaining here. So see it as you want. as far as maybe me talking down on someone, it was only true. He did in fact tell the rest of us also, so like it's no secret really. I don't know, it's just that ultimately his attitude doesn't really congrue with the actions that he's taking on. He got married, he's building a house with this chick, and he has a kid now and wants more kids later, but his attitude really is just more kind of on the immature side, just kind of wants to have fun, wants to get fucked up, wants to drink and party. The way I see it from him is that it doesn't seem like he's expressing genuine want to do these things. It seems more like he's obligated to, like he's required to do so. He's just doing what's conventionally best for him, I feel. It's those juxtaposing concepts, his attitude and then his behavior. They just don't sync up, and it makes me think that he doesn't take this whole monogamy thing seriously. And I know that he checks out other women, and you know, perhaps maybe even men. So anyway, that's one clue, the Instagram thing. So with that basically propelled my crush. It lasted for a year, and it was actually during the October of this past year, 2020, when I started to come to terms with that he wouldn't be interested in, you know, maybe wanting to fool around or do anything with men. And by then I internalized a lot of those things, and by then he had already gotten married, and it was basically time for me to move on. See, because with my attraction to him, I wanted to get closer to him. So by doing so, you talk to that person more. And what does that mean? It means that you'd want to be his friend. So with these physical and emotional feelings of attraction that I had for him at the time when my crush was going strong for that year, I really wanted to be his friend, and I wanted to know him more because being with him made me feel good. But even in trying to establish a friendship, he never really pulled through. Like, he's kind of a flaky individual at times. You know, sometimes he'd be like, hey, we should hang out sometime during the weekend, or, you know, go to a bar somewhere. And I'd be like, yeah, for sure. And then, you know, come that day, he'd be like, you know, I'm doing something else, or and then or maybe he just wouldn't reply, or he'd reply all late, like just flaky behavior. And this isn't the first time, you know, he and I will suggest, you know, a hang, and neither of us come through. I guess maybe it's both of our faults, but I can at least say that I've tried more times to attempt a hangout, but he has flaked more often than I have. I just feel like it's going nowhere, even on a friendship level. And that lack of interest that I see from him really kind of deters me from wanting to pursue it even further. But anyway, now I'm in a better space, but I still find myself in this conflict, in this dissonance, but now in a more mild state. Before it was like, well, oh my God, like, you know, the only way to not think about him is to completely stop talking to him. And I would go in these really big back and forth fits of like, well, stop talking to him and for good, and, you know, because that's the logical thing to do. Just remove yourself from the stimulus. And then part of me is still like, well, one, you can't do anything about it because you work there and you work with him. You have to deal with it. And then another part of me is just still, like I said, attracted to him. My part of me is still curious and wants to know. So now that brings me to the more recent situation, or the more recent scenario of him possibly being interested in men. That's now reflared my curiosity. This most recent situation comes from a photo account that I have, and I post a lot of pictures of men on there. You know, some relatively fit, and a lot of them are shirtless. And it's for my photo page because I enjoy doing that. And he happened to follow one of the guys that I had tagged there and that I would post on, this model. I noticed yesterday because I was gonna send him a meme that I thought was funny and relatable to him. So I went ahead and went to the conversation thread, and I see that he and I both follow this person, this very, well, attractive, fit man who's on my page. And now I'm just like, this bitch went as far as to either go through my account, because I follow him through my own personal account, or through my photo page to go follow him, but he doesn't follow my own page? Are you serious? Really? Like I said, my suspicions are big right now, and I'm left at a crossroads again with my body and logic. My logic is saying, Gilbert, you already know the facts. He's married, he has a kid, he's straight, he's overtly straight, publicly straight, and has not put any clear interest in you. But the little fucking devil in me, the human in me, is curious because he oozes sexuality too. It's a vibe. It's a vibe, and I'm curious, and I'm conflicted, and I'm somewhere in the middle as always. People have told me to act upon my feelings for him, and part of me doesn't want to, because I respect him as a coworker. I respect him as a human, to not be a homewrecker and fuck up his marriage, especially as I've mentioned earlier, that he has not really given me any evident signs that he himself would be interested in, you know, me in another way aside from maybe a friend. So guys, that basically concludes my story about Henry. And if you happen to stumble upon this video, well, the secret's out now. So there's that. post video recording editing Gilbert here. So I just wanted to kind of bring up a little bit more information that I feel like I left out naturally, because while you're recording, you know, you're so in the moment and you just kind of want to get like the meat of things across, but then I feel like you lose certain important details. So first I want to address Gilbert. You are a gay man attracted to a straight man. And I know that this is a common toxic trope that plagues individuals in the LGBTQ community because, well, let's face it, there are more heterosexual individuals than gay individuals. So sometimes these feelings of attraction that you may develop on people are kind of out of your control. It's not that we actively want to pursue gay, well, there are certain select gay individuals who like to specifically go for gay men and they actively thirst for them. But in my situation, I'm being honest here. When I first noticed Henry, these feelings of attraction were very much out of control. It's not like I woke up that October morning in 2019 and was like, okay, well, I'm gonna really notice Henry today and I'm gonna really be like, That did not happen. My body took a while to notice, but when it did, something set off and my brain reacted to what my body saw, and my body reacted hard. A crush is a rush to thrust because a crush feels like a rush of chemicals that your brain and adrenal glands produce to make you feel a very particular kind of way towards that individual for any elapsed amount of time, because everyone's different, you know, everyone falls differently for an individual as far as intensity and for how long, you know, it varies. I can definitely say that it felt like it was almost out of my control. Now, what I know I have control over is how I react to the feelings and thoughts that flow through me, and dealing with that crush, especially in the end when I had to basically kind of like in my own head, like, okay, Gilbert, like, stop entertaining things, stop it. Like he got married already. He hasn't shown you any clear signs of interest. He hasn't ever come on to you. He hasn't ever been noticeably flirtatious or anything like that. No. Despite what I've seen online from him, despite those details, they got to my head. With that most recent scenario with him following like on Instagram through my page or whatever, it only kind of really now just entertains and sets off my curiosity. Like how I mentioned in the beginning of the video. To put things into perspective, when I was crushing on him, he occupied my headspace like 95% of the time. It was really bad. And near the end, I was like, okay, Gilbert, like things are clearly going nowhere. You need to move on. And undoing a lot of that took a bit of time, and it was a very grating, grueling process. But now he really only occupies my brain maybe like 15% of the time, you know, significantly less, but still there. And, you know, as long as I work there, my body's gonna notice him. My body's gonna be like, hey, he's fine as fuck. Like for today example, he didn't show up in the morning, but he showed up for the mandatory meeting that we had today during lunch at work. So he pulls up in his gym clothes. So he's wearing a t-shirt and these gray joggers that really accentuate his fat ass. And of course I was gonna notice, and of course I took a look and I was like, God damn. But I'm not letting those feelings propel me into something crazier, like a romantic attraction, or it's not making me spin as much, but I still, in a sense, thirst for him. That's why I'm in this limbo where I'm like debating whether or not to even continue talking to him, because even in my pursuit of trying to make a friendship with him, which is kind of questionable, right? Because I'm already physically attracted to him. If you are trying to make something out of merely physical attraction, does that kind of questions your intentions or how genuine that sociability factor is, you know? Is it purely sociable or is it more sexual? And that's something that I really argue with myself about. So see, I'm very in the middle of things. Part of me is like, yes, like there is this slightly extroverted, sociable part of me that really wants to break boundaries with a coworker. I would love to really get to know an individual for who they are outside of work and not just have a workplace dynamic. As I mentioned earlier in the video when I was recording, if Henry is not interested in even trying to pursue or to sustain some kind of, you know, neutral friendship on his own end, that really also discourages me too from wanting to develop it upon myself. There's this real, true, deep part of me that wants to just come clean. I mean, he and I talk fine right now, and he and I are comfortable enough to disclose how we feel about certain things, how certain things make us feel. So it wouldn't be the most crazy thing to spill everything, but at the same time, is he worth it? You know, part of me really wants to come clean and tell him like, hey, like, you know, you've made such a huge impact on me in my head, and I was so into you, and fortunately now I'm not, because I realized that's crazy with given your situation, married and kids, but I'm getting a better hold of myself, and I want to still be friends with you. Is that even worth bringing up? Is that worth bringing up to someone who kind of doesn't really seem to even want to do that either? I don't know. I guess maybe it's just the universe telling me something, because there's this part of me that really wants to be, just like I said, true, open, and communicative, and try to break these boundaries. And then there are parts externally that are just not happening. So maybe it's a sign. Who knows? But this is my story of my fixation on a fucking coworker. And I know it's not forever though, because nothing is forever. Everything moves forward. Bye guys.